الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. And welcome back to our Fiqh Hour, the Hajj special. We are on episode 4, if I'm not mistaken. Apologies, I have been absent for the last 2 sessions, one which was due on the 30th of May and one which was due on the 3rd of June due to illness. Not 100%, alhamdulillah, but we're on the mend, as they say. So, and we don't want to lose any more days because, as I understand it, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has declared the start of Dhul Hijjah this evening. Well, it's not evening fully here in the UK, but it is evening in that part of the world. So they have declared it. So we are now approaching the days of Hajj. Obviously, Dhul Hijjah has started. And then on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah is when the days start. So today, just in case if you haven't had chance to watch the other episodes, then obviously the first episode gives you an introduction to it all, extolling the virtues and the importance of it. We then did a background on the second episode, and then on the third episode in particular, the focus was on Ihram. We're now reached the days of Hajj. So today we're going to specifically speak about the days of Hajj. We will talk about Umrah because for many of you, when you land in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and you are to get to Mecca, then for many of you, you will be performing your Umrah first because you will be performing what's referred to as a Tamattu Hajj, in which you are taking advantage of your opportunity of the days of Hajj in order to perform an Umrah. So we will discuss those at a later date. So let's just focus for now on the days of Hajj. So as I mentioned, in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the date is this evening anyway, when it gets to this evening, obviously after Maghrib for us. For us in the UK, those who are following UK sighting, obviously it is the 28th tonight. So there will be no reason for anybody to go out to sight the moon here. So the moon will be attempted to be sighted tomorrow evening, and there is a good chance, inshallah, that it does get sighted. And as a consequence, the first of Dhul Hijjah will be on Friday night, and therefore there will be a day difference. Remember, the Hajj days and the start of Dhul Hijjah are not linked together. I have other videos, I'm sure, and I've discussed it at length in other places. Okay, let's get back onto this. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So remember, we're now flying out. Let's just say somebody flies out tomorrow, 1st of Dhul Hijjah, they land in Saudi Arabia. Okay. Now, obviously, if they're going to perform Umrah, then they need to watch the next episode, which is episode 5, in which I will discuss Umrah. If they've done Umrah, then the days of Hajj, they wait for the days of Hajj to start. So the first day of Hajj to start is the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. So it mentions in the book that I'm sharing with you that after having completed these actions, when one has gone into the state of Ihram, okay, and they are ready, they have performed, say, Tawaf al-Qudum. If they're going to perform Tawaf al-Qudum and they're not going to perform Umrah, then they will stay in Mecca and they will wait until the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. Okay, the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. This is Yawm Tasi. Okay, and this is the 8th of that day. And when this day arrives, what is supposed to happen is after sunrise, one is supposed to set off to Mina, okay, and spend the night there. Reason being is that the Prophet ﷺ, he offered the Fajr on this day, on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah in Mecca. And when the sun had risen, he then departed for Mina. And then in Mina, he prayed his noon prayer, meaning the Dhuhr. He prayed the afternoon prayer, meaning the Asr. And he prayed the Maghrib prayer. And he prayed the Isha prayer. And he prayed the next day, the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, Fajr. And this is what he performed. After the Fajr prayer, he then sets off for Arafah. So just to recap on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. 8th of Dhul Hijjah, if a person is not in Ihram, they will go into Ihram. Once they've gone, and we've already discussed going into Ihram, once they've gone into Ihram, they will pray their Fajr Salah bil Jama in Masjid al-Haram. Once they have prayed their Fajr Salah, they wait for sunrise. Obviously, they will be dictated to by the people who have taken responsibility for them, and they will then travel to Mina depending on when their coaches arrive and when their coaches set off. So sometime between sunrise and sometime between Dhuhr Salah, their coaches will set off from their hotels and make their way to Mina. Mina is like the city of the tents, as it's referred to. And here you will be allocated a particular place. If you're traveling, obviously, from England, you will be allocated a place in the European sector, in the UK sector. And obviously, the standards will be to what you are more accustomed to. If, on the other hand, you're traveling from the Indian subcontinent, then you will obviously be given the tents for that particular area. That person then, or those people now, will stay in Mina. And there is nothing to do here as such in terms of ritual acts, apart from perform the daily prayers. They will perform 5 daily prayers, which will be the Dhuhr of the 8th, the Asr, the Maghrib, and the Isha of the 8th. And then they will wait till the Fajr of now the 9th of Dhul Hijjah. They will pray the Fajr, and now they will set off for Arafah. Okay. Again, they will not necessarily set off as they please. They will wait for their group to set off, and they will set off collectively as a group. So after having prayed the Fajr prayer on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah in Mina, then the group will set off for Arafah. At Arafah, one is to stand as close as possible to the mountains of Rahmah, in order to listen to the khatib and in order to learn the ritual acts of Hajj. The chances of this are pretty slim. In fact, what your group leader will say to you is stay in the tent or stay in that area around the tent. Why? Don't wander off to listen to the khatib. Don't wander off here, there, or everywhere. Why? Because when the move needs to be made to Muzdalifah, then finding you is not going to be easy. So therefore, it is required to stay in Arafah. So when a person arrives in Arafah, then really this is just a place of wukuf. This is just a place of station. There are no specific ritual acts to perform here, bar the fact that this person will stand and make azkar and the rest of it. The time limit for Arafah is from the midday of the 9th, which is remember, after Fajr, the people set off from Mina to arrive in Arafah. So it could be any time between there and until the dawn of the 10th. So a person will now stay, like they stayed a whole day bar the Fajr in Mina. They will now stay the whole day bar like they stayed the whole day bar the Fajr in Makkah. They stayed in Mina. Similarly, now they will stay the whole day in Arafah, bar the Fajr of the 9th, which they prayed in Mina. Okay, so they will perform Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha, waiting for the 10th, okay, in order to perform the Fajr. If one misses this time, remember going back to the original introduction we made in episode 1, we discussed that there are 2 compulsory acts of Hajj. This is one of those compulsory acts, which is to perform wukuf at the Arafah. What should one do is to stay at Arafah prior to sunset and remain there until the sun has set. Okay. When the sun passes over what's referred to as Zawal, it reaches Zawal on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, then there are 2 khutbahs which are performed by the Imam or your group leader. And then there you will see there will be a combination of Salah. We do not combine Salah here because the only reason we allow the combining of prayers here is if you are praying behind the Imam of the locality. If you are not praying behind the Imam of the locality, then there is no joining of prayer here. Whilst one is here, then the teaching by your group leader will be about what the people should be doing at Muzdalifah, because again, that's the next step. And Muzdalifah is also a wukuf. You are just staying there. Also, the throwing, the pelting of the jamara, the explanation will be giving. The udhiyya, that will be done as well. And then eventually the shaving of the head or the cutting of the hair, and the final tawaf as ziyarah. The talbiyah, obviously one will continue with the talbiyah up until the first jamara has been pelted. So now it is sunset. Okay, this person has prayed the dhuhr, he has prayed the asr at this particular in Arafah, and now Maghrib time comes and he waits for the sun to set. When the sun sets, okay, the people will now depart for Muzdalifah, because Muzdalifah is where they're going to spend the night. Okay. The Maghrib prayer is not performed at Arafah. This is an unusual task, even if you do not set off, until way after sunset, you will still not pray your Maghrib Salah. Why? Because the place of Maghrib Salah is at Muzdalifah. Okay. And not only is the place of Maghrib Salah at Muzdalifah, but you will do Jama Baina Salatain, meaning you will combine both Maghrib and Isha at Muzdalifah. So this is the only time the Ahnaf do that. Now I appreciate, excuse me, we are at that time of the year in our northern latitude here in the UK, in which also there is a possibility of combining prayers because we don't have Isha time. So that is an option that some people can adopt. Obviously, this should be done bil jama. It should not be done individually. Obviously, if their sisters praying at home, then yes, they can do that. It's not an issue because they don't pray bil jama anyway, in which they can obviously pray both Maghrib and Isha together. So when the sun has set, the people will leave for Muzdalifah. They will arrive at Muzdalifah sometime at night. It could be a couple of hours after sunset. It could be even later. And what they will do is they will combine the Isha Salah. By now, it will be Isha time. Okay, by now, it will be Isha time. And they will do this with one adhan and one iqamah. And what would happen is you would pray the Maghrib Fard first. Once the Maghrib Fard has been prayed, then what you would do is you would immediately pray the Isha Fard. Then after the Isha Fard, you would pray your Sunnah and you would pray the Witr Salah. If for whatever reason a person has performed Maghrib along the way to Muzdalifah, then it is not valid. Okay, they will need to repeat it. And furthermore, there is no requirement that the person prays in Jama, the two prayers, because the Maghrib has been delayed. So in essence, what's happened here, the Maghrib is now in Isha time. So it is Jama, which is Ta'khir. Yani you have taken one Salah out of its time and taken it into another time, which is like Qāḍī Salah basically. When, say, for whatever reason, one doesn't pray Maghrib Salah, and then it's Isha time, then they will obviously pray the Maghrib Salah. In Isha time, they will pray the Maghrib first, and then they will pray the Isha. The difference, however, obviously, is that they will not pray any Sunnah or anything in between. So now we are on the 9th. We've spent the night at Muzdalifah in the 9th. This is usually the place where people gather their stones as well, in order to then move forward for the pelting. So the next day that arrives is the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. The 10th of Dhul Hijjah is now the day of Eid, as we will understand it here in the UK, or anywhere else for that matter. But this is also referred to as Yawmun Nahar, because it is the day in which the animals are slaughtered. And so what a person would do is that on this day, they would pray the Fajr prayer at the earliest part. So as soon as Fajr time starts, they would pray Fajr Salah as soon as it starts. So it will be very dark, like us as the Ahnaf. What we tend to do is we pray the Fajr Salah closer to sunrise. We delay it and we pray it closer to sunrise. Whilst the person is in Muzdalifah, they will pray it at the point of starting. Then a person will stay in Muzdalifah even for a moment or something like that, and they can make dua. And similarly, they can stay standing after the Fajr prayer with the Imam and also make dua. The time of standing at Muzdalifah is from the start of true dawn on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, meaning the start of Fajr Salah, until the day has grown considerably bright, meaning you have now got sunrise as well. Usually it is after this time that people now start to leave, okay? So before sunrise, but it's starting to get bright, people now leave Muzdalifah to return back to Mina, the city of the tents. When they reach Mina, the first place they go to is the Jamara, okay, the symbol, or a wall, on which they're going to now cast 3 small pebbles, about chickpea size, if not smaller. And they will pronounce takbir each time they throw it. After the throwing the first stone, they will cease with the talbiyah. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika lak, labbaik innal hamda wa ni'mata lak wal mulk la sharika lak, which is what they've been doing constantly or as often as possible since they went into the state of ihram. But once they start to pelt the Jamara al-Aqaba, the biggest one, then they will cease to make talbiyah. And they should make Allahu Akbar. Once they make Allahu Akbar, then they will obviously wait for the animal to be slaughtered. Usually at this point, people start to walk towards Mecca. Okay, they start to walk towards Mecca because there's usually no transportation services provided from Mina. There are sometimes, but what people tend to do is walk it down to Mecca. It's a straightforward, straight line. You can't miss it, so to speak. And it's not a long walk. And obviously, they've already got their keys to their hotel rooms, so they've always got a place to stay there anyway. And what they'll do is they'll start to walk towards that. When they reach that, they will wait in order to be informed that this animal has been slaughtered. When the news reaches them that the animal has been slaughtered, then all the rites of Hajj are complete except the final one. And the final one now is the shaving of the head. For the man, obviously, and for the woman, the clipping of the hair. And then once that is done, they can then shower, put on normal clothes, because the shaving of the head is the final act to take a person back out of ihram. And they can now perform the tawaf of the house. If one throws the stone and it falls close to the Jamara, it will be considered as valid. If it falls far away, it will be invalid. And if a person was to throw all 7 stones in one go, then that will also be considered as invalid. So we gather them, as I mentioned, in Muzdalifah or on the road of Mina. One shouldn't be gathering them where the pelting is taking place. Okay. So once the sacrifice has been made, then he can shave his head for men. Shaving is preferred, or cut his hair. Okay. Now, there was a few questions that we got with regards to cutting hair from the sisters group. Let me just pick them up. And it mentions, Assalamu alaikum, can a woman cut her own hair to get out of ihram, both for the Umrah and Hajj purposes? Yes, a woman can cut her own hair when this is the last act to get her out of the state of ihram. Mufti, another question, it is regarding the past. A lady has been to Umrah and Hajj before, and she has cut the hair of her mum, and another time other female relatives' hair, possibly while she was in ihram. She can't remember if she was in ihram while she cut her mum's hair. Was that okay for her to do? It depends, obviously, if she was doing this in order to take her mother or her relative out of ihram. If that was the case, then it is valid. But if she was in ihram and she was not coming out of ihram, then obviously it's a problem. So I'm assuming what this means is that the woman was coming out of ihram, her mother was also coming out of ihram, and therefore she cut her mother's hair, and maybe her mother cut her hair, or she cut her own hair in order to come out of ihram. That is valid. The final act which remains now, or the final few acts which remain now, is what's referred to as Tawafu Ziyarah. or Tawaful Ifada. So this is now, the person is in Mecca. We already know that he's pelted the Jamra al-Aqaba. He's now walked down to Mecca to his hotel area. He's waiting in his hotel room to be informed that the animal has been slaughtered. He's now informed that the animal has been slaughtered. He now needs to come out of Ihram by shaving his head. So he's had his head shaved. And now obviously he goes to perform ghusl. He's been in Ihram for a few days, maybe a week, maybe more. So he's dusty, he's smelly, he's not clean. So he takes a shower. He can now put any type of clothing on because he's not in Ihram anyway. So he puts on his normal jubba, whatever it is that he wears. And obviously now he can perform the final act, which is Tawaf al-Ziyarah. Tawaf al-Ziyarah, it should be obviously performed, as we said, on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. He's already in Mecca. He's already done those particular acts. So this is the best time to do it. If for whatever reason he's unable to do so, then he may do so on the 11th, or worst case scenario, he may do so on the 12th. However, beyond that, it will be considered problematic. And therefore, it is better that he does it on that first day, which is the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, Yawmun Nahr. So let's just remind ourselves of the 4 actions that need to be conducted on the 10th. They are the stoning, okay, or rami as it's referred to. Then the slaughtering, nahr. Then the shaving of the hair, halq. And then the tawaful ifada, okay, which is tawaf. So ranhat is a good way to memorize it, to memorize the order. It should be done in this order, okay. According to Ahnaf, it is wajib to maintain this order. According to other schools, it is not wajib. So please be careful who you are consulting with regards to how to perform Hajj. Because otherwise, if you do allow one act to precede another, or vice versa, then there will be a slaughtering, then there will be a dam that is required, okay, penalty. So bear that in mind. So when one is in Mecca, we've explained this, he's already pelted the Jamra al-Aqaba, he's already slaughtered his animal, he's been informed that his animal is slaughtered, he's already shaved his head, he's had a shower, he's changed his clothes, he's now going to perform Tawaful Ifada, okay, and also obviously Tawaf al-Ziyarah. This is referred to, as we said, Tawaful Ifada and Tawaf al-Ziyarah. So when the Prophet ﷺ had his head shaved and he was departing from Mecca, he would perform this tawaf. Then what he would do is he would go to Mina. So that's the next thing to do, because it's not over yet. There's still the 11th of Dhul Hijjah and the 12th of Dhul Hijjah to perform. Okay, so he would return to Mina and he would pray his Zuhr Salah at Mina. A point to note is that if a person is performing his sa'i after Tawaf al-Qudum, remember Tawaf al-Qudum is the tawaf he performs when he arrives, then he does not have to do Ramal in the first 3 circuits of Tawaf al-Ziyarah. But if he did not do sa'i after Tawaf al-Qudum, then he has to observe Ramal in the Tawaf al-Ziyarah followed by sa'i after it. We did discuss this at the time. The performance of this tawaf after these 3 days is disliked, as we've mentioned, so it should be done on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, or worst case 11th, and finally 12th. If it goes beyond that, then there is a penalty that one needs to give. After one has completed tawaf, then the final act, which was forbidden for men and women, is intimacy can now be legitimate. So sexual intercourse is now permissible. Up until that point, it was not. Okay, so therefore, even though this person has shaved his head, he may think, oh, I'm now out of Ihram. There is the final task to do, which is the tawaf. Once the tawaf has been done, now one is fully out of Ihram. So please bear that in mind. After this, one shouldn't think that the rites of Hajj are complete. The rites of Hajj remain. So they need to now return to Mina and spend both the 11th and 12th of Dhul Hijjah in Mina, and also pelt all 3 Jamra on the 11th and all 3 Jamra on the 12th. So he returns to, so if he's performed, let's just say that he's been well organized, and on the 10th, he did the slaughter, he did the shaving of his head, he took a shower. After the shower, he put on his normal day clothes. He then went to perform tawaf. He did the tawaf. Because he did not do tawaf al-qudum, he's going to do sa'i after this tawaf. Therefore, he has to do ramal for the first 3 circuits. He does that. He now does his sa'i, completed that as well. Now he's fully out of ihram. Now he can, whether by taxi or by walking up, return back to Mina. Once he arrives in Mina, he's hoping to get to Mina well early, and now he will spend the day there. It is disliked to spend the night anywhere other than in Mina, okay, during the days of Mina. So what task does he have apart from staying there? Well, on the 11th of Dhul Hijjah, he should stone the 3 sites after Zawal, 7 pebbles at each site, and he's to begin with the site closest to Masjid al-Khayf, throwing 7 pebbles, saying Allahu Akbar each time he throws a pebble. We've already explained the rules to that. He then throws the pebbles at the site after, which is the middle Jamara, and he repeats the same actions, and then at the 3rd site as well, which is Al-Aqaba, and he does the same thing here as well. Between the stoning of each site, one can remain there for a moment, and then he will face Qibla, recite Takbir, praise Allah, and send durood upon the Prophet ﷺ, and supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The hands are usually raised when one supplicates, and this is the act that he will do on the 11th. On the 12th of Dhul Hijjah, it is the same. He would repeat what he did on the 11th. He will stay in Mina both day and evening, and then he will pelt the 3 Jamara one after the other in the fashion that has already been described. After this, one has completed Hajj. So a person will remain in Mina overnight. So if, however, a person remains in Mina overnight on the 12th, then they must stay the 13th and repeat everything they did on the 12th. If, however, they leave before Maghrib, then they do not need to do that. So if a person stays in Mina after the 12th of Dhul Hijjah, they will have to repeat what they did on the 11th and 12th on the 13th. So if you're not planning to stay, then leave before Maghrib. Okay. And we've also, what will happen is the Ayyamut Tashriq start, where obviously a person is supposed to recite the dua of Tashriq, which we will discuss shortly. That would mean that the days of Hajj are now complete. The person will now stay in Mecca for however long his visit is in Mecca before he sets off for Medina, if he's not set off for Medina yet. And if he's already been to Medina, then he will obviously return back to his country of residence. And this, the final tawaf would be when eventually he's leaving Mecca, is referred to as tawaf al-wada, okay, or tawaf al-sadr, which is the farewell tawaf. So one would return to Mecca, perform the tawaf al-sadr in the Masjid al-Haram, and do making 7 circuits. And this is the last action of Hajj, and it is a tawaf which is deemed the wajib element of Hajj. Okay. Tawaf is not wajib for the people of Mecca because obviously they live in Mecca. There's no ramal in this tawaf at all. After one completes the tawaf, one should go to Zamzam and drink some of its water while standing, pouring some of it over the head and face, and then go to the multazam, if possible, which is between the black stone and the door, placing the chest and face against it, and ask Allah for whatever one wishes. That, my brothers and sisters, completes the 5 days of Hajj. In a summarized version, I will begin next session, which inshallah will be on the 10th, next Monday, by summarizing the days of Hajj again, before we then discuss about the types of Hajj and also then discuss Umrah. Because Umrah people will either do first or they will do after. So that will be a particularly focusing on that element and also the types of Hajj. We can then turn to in possibly the last session to look at the various offenses and what is required to remedy those offenses, and also those of us who will visit the Prophet ﷺ. So please do share these with others of those who are traveling for Hajj. Watch them. There's plenty of time where you'll be sat around. So educate yourselves so that you understand the rights of Hajj. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.